I'm going to record a bit of a longer video today because I want to start talking a little bit about sort of the overall perspective that we take when it comes to marketing. There's a lot of things that go into an effective marketing program for an accounting firm. And there's lots of different ways to get there. I know there are other marketers out there that work with a lot of firms. Just in terms of level setting, we primarily work with firms that are looking to add subscription style clients to their roster. So there's an ongoing, like recurring monthly revenue aspect to it. So usually that means like business bookkeeping is a big part of it, or advisory services, something like that. Most of the firms also have somewhat of a tax practice, or they do tax preparation for their business clients, but we don't work with many tax only firms. It's not really where our expertise is. When we think about marketing, we're just starting mostly from a B2B stance. And that's important because B2B is different than B2C. Like the tactics that you use, the cost of different things are going to be different in B2B. The way people buy is a little different. And so there's probably a whole different strategy that I could talk about in terms of B2C and how to get there, but I just want to let you know we're talking business to business in most cases. So let me start here. All right, when we think about an effective marketing engine, there's really four roles that are important. And so I'll talk through those four roles, and then there's four versions that we often see of the like combinations of those four roles. So here's the four roles. You've got strategy, expertise, production, and operations. Strategy means who's in charge of figuring out what you should do, whether it's working, how to do it, all of that. Expertise, this is subject matter expertise. Someone connected to your marketing department needs to know what they're talking about. That's really important. A lot of firms make the mistake of thinking that they can outsource that expertise to an outside marketing company, and honestly, that usually just falls flat. The third one is production, or you can also think of it as the creative team. These are the people who actually they design things, they write things, they produce videos, they do the creative aspect of creating the various marketing assets that you need. And then finally, operations, which is generally something like publishing or posting or reporting or managing Google ads or dealing with your HubSpot account, setting up email campaigns. You don't have to be a creative person to do that, but you do need to know what you're doing in terms of some of those technical things. So with those four roles, there's four different variations of how we see that team breakdown. So the DIY one, generally you have an owner who's essentially in charge of the strategy piece of it, but maybe they're using a coach or a part of a mastermind, or maybe they're just reading books and listening to podcasts. So they're getting information elsewhere, but at the end of the day, the owner is responsible. So it's kind of a combination between your team plus an outside partner. And then all the other pieces are filled in by your own team. And often we see this, especially with small firms, where the owner is doing everything themselves. So they're the subject matter expert. They're the one writing blog posts and social media posts. They're the ones scheduling them and posting them and sending out emails and all of that. The second version is the done with you. This is probably the more traditional agency relationship. You've got maybe a strategist from the agency or a freelancer who's working with the owner to set the strategy. Still, the owner is always going to be the subject matter expert or a partner. And then you might have a team member that's helping. So it might be a combo of someone in-house, you again as the owner, or your front desk admin. And then you're also working with outside partners, freelancers, agencies, that kind of stuff. The third one is this done for you. This is when you have maybe a higher level outside marketing partner. So this is something that we do with our clients fairly regularly. Someone like me or one of our senior folks will be in the strategist seat. We're setting the direction. We're figuring out what to do and why and if it will work. We're doing the production. We're writing. We're creating. And we're setting up all the campaigns and sending it out and all of that. Still, in every one of these cases, our point of view, our perspective is that it's a waste of money to try to outsource expertise to a marketing team. That is something that always needs to be owned by the firm. People want to know what you care about. They want to know your expertise. They want to know who's behind the company. And it just falls flat. We used to do more writing just completely separate from the firms that we worked with, and we decided it just wasn't generating good content. It was noise on the websites. even when we sent things over, the owner would get the article and they would have to edit it like tons and tons to get it to a point where it was even accurate. And so we decided, we only write with our clients. We through interviews or the client generating the rough draft. The downside to that is it always requires some time on your end. The best and most effective marketing programs always involve someone who knows what they're talking about in your firm being connected to the marketing. The last one here would be what I would say a fractional CFO model. So this is really only going to make sense for larger firms. Maybe you build an inside marketing team that does some of the work, plus they're working with some outside partners, but maybe you don't have that person on your team who can really own the strategy and figure out what to do and if it's working. And so maybe you'll hire an outside partner. Now, I sometimes play this role for firms, but in a sense, there's an inherent conflict of interest that as an agency owner, also trying to be the fractional CMO, ideally you want that person to be paid, compensated completely separately from the delivery of the work. That way they can give you the best advice on who you should hire, how you should get these things done, instead of thinking, I think you should do local SEO and I think you should hire my team at my agency to do it. That's not to say you can't have an honest broker doing that in that relationship, but it is harder. Now, what I will say, the done for you track is quite common, but really most of the time that it should be a stopgap. So if you're let's say a largish firm, 3 million, 4 million in annual revenue, it might make sense to work with an outside partner and really rely on them to do most of the marketing work. But long term, I would really recommend most firms start to develop the resources in-house so that they have some team members who are participating in creating the content and publishing it, all that. The reality is it's expensive for someone like me to have a team on an account and create content for them. It's labor intensive. And for my own, profit margins and to be able to run my business, I have to charge higher fees. You can basically, for what it costs. Let's see, how would I explain this? So if you hire an agency, we can do something like we could write one article per week for your firm. For the same price, one article per week, you might be able to get 70% of an in-house hire who could write 3 articles per week. So, you don't need 3 articles per week, especially when you're starting off in most cases. But that's kind of the difference in terms of the volume. Now, you lose out on specialization and maybe some industry expertise, or like marketing expertise specifically for your industry. But there's a real cost saving over time if you can develop a person in-house who can really handle your marketing. And so we often advise that as the direction that you want to go with your firm. All right, so now that you understand the different roles, we've come over to this table here. This is where you might start plugging in names for your team. When you start out, you might have your name in every one of these boxes. But if you're a little bit bigger, maybe there are different subject matter experts. That's what SME stands for. And they might have different expertise. So someone knows a lot about accounting and tax planning. Another person is the payroll specialist. Another person is more of like a business advisor or something. So you might put in those names. The strategy side, you might have an outside consultant. But in-house, I'm going to say that's usually the owner. Occasionally, you might have a marketing manager that is in charge of the marketing strategy. Then down here, what I would ask you to answer is if you needed something written, an article written, who would do it? Would you hire a freelancer or would you use someone in-house? If you needed something designed, if you needed a brochure, would you hire that out or do you have someone on your team? If you needed to edit video, who would do that? And then who's in charge of posting to your website? Who would send out an email to your clients? All of that. So you start to plug in the people. And then I'd also say, think about how many hours do they have per week to devote to the marketing. So you get your name, any special expertise, and the hours per week that they have in those roles. If you have multiple people or like one person in multiple boxes, you just need to know in total what kind of hours do they have to focus on marketing per week. All right, now this is the fun stuff. This is how we look at marketing for an accounting firm. We break it down into 7 core kind of areas or phases that you want to focus on. And my recommendation is that you basically want to do the stuff at the top first because it's going to give you the best foundation and to get you the best results from the things at the bottom. A lot of firms are very busy with marketing, but they aren't really strong with their foundational stuff. And so let me go through the 7 categories. So the first one is, and you can imagine this as like building a house in the woods. You stake out your foundation. That means messaging and positioning. Positioning is more internal focused. What do you offer? Who's your ideal client? What are you going after? How do you fit in the marketplace? And then messaging is external focus. How do we communicate that value to our clients? These are 2 of the most important things to get right at the beginning of your marketing department. If you don't know who you are or how to communicate clearly to your clients, it's all going to be a mess, and it's going to be a lot of wasted energy without a lot of effective results. Number 2, I call it sharpen your axe. There's that saying, if I had 6 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. The axe is your strategy. The truth is there are way too many things that you could be doing for marketing, and so you need to make choices. And that's what I mean when I say sharpen your axe. Figure out, where are we going to focus our efforts? Why do we think that is going to work? And how many resources are we going to devote to that? Whether that's people or money, hiring outsiders, freelancers and agencies, or whatever that is. So understanding what your strategy is, having a real marketing budget, understanding what are all the tactics that we could be doing so that you can choose which ones you will be doing, and then having a marketing calendar for the year. Now, when I work with a client, I go through all of these things, and each one of them has a grade. So if you have these sorts of things in place, you can start grading yourself. Like, do we have a clear understanding of our positioning? It's okay, we're fair. We don't really have a clear ideal customer profile. A brand script, there's a system called, or a framework called StoryBrand. We love their brand script model. So it's kind of a one-pager version of how we communicate our value. Do you have one of those? Do you have a swipe file of copy that you can use in your marketing? Say no. Same thing with an elevator pitch. Do you have that short version of it? And then internal buy-in is going to be, if you have a marketing manager, let's say, is the leadership bought into what the marketing manager has determined is the right messaging and positioning? So let's give it a pour. You've got a D in this first category. Now with the next one, same thing with strategy. Do we have strategy? No, we don't even have it. Do we have a marketing budget? Well, sort of. We make decisions on the fly. Do we know what tactics are available to us? Not really. Do we have a calendar? Definitely not. We'll leave it NA. Do we have effective analytics and reporting? A lot of firms don't have that. Let's say you've got access to Google Analytics, though, at least. And then do you have internal understanding and buy-in as far as the strategy? Okay. Now, when I see something like this, I know we want to start with the foundation. Before we start trying to generate leads, you got to get the stuff at the base correct. The third category that we focus on is now building that house. And when I think of the house, really, it's your website and your brand, and the website is really the important part. I would go through and I would grade your website. Does it effectively and clearly communicate the actual value that you bring to your customers? Does it have a good user experience? Is it mobile? Is the design good? Is it mobile friendly? We'll give you all some fair ones here. Do you have a pricing and packages page? This is probably a whole nother video, but I will say I think that every accounting firm website needs to have a page that addresses the cost. You don't have to list your prices in tiers, but you have to explain generally in different ways. You have to educate the visitors on how you're going to determine the cost and give them an idea of what maybe the range is, or like the median fee of your clients. So do you have one? If you don't have one, I'm going to give you a poor or an NA. Are people able to book directly on your calendar? And do you have good SEO content on your website? All right, then with some brand things, how good is your logo? Is it modern? Does it communicate trust? We're gonna say y'all have a good logo, and style guide is the colors and fonts and things so that you have consistency across your brand. And then social profiles. Now, I'm not really focused here on whether or not you are posting regularly. This is more, do you have them set up on LinkedIn? Is there good messaging on the actual profile if someone found their way to it? Generally, I recommend that you are active on 2 social media platforms that are not owned by the same company. So Facebook and Instagram are both Meta companies. And so I would say if you're going to do that, you want to pick one, and then you want to go to LinkedIn or TikTok or Twitter, wherever you're going to go, you want 2 different social media accounts. You want your company and probably your personal page to be branded and doing set up so that it communicates the messaging that you've already agreed on across those. And then your Google Business Profile. We're going to get all this set up. And then other would be if you have another, like if you're listed on an important directory somewhere. Let's say that's that. All right. The next one is you want to be more findable. If you think about it, there are a certain number of people out in the world who are already looking for your services. And then there are a whole lot of people in the world who could use your services, but they don't know that they could use your services. The first category is a lot more easy to attract and get in front of than the second category. In the second category, you have to educate them on why someone needs you, and then you have to convince them that you're the right fit for their problem. In the first category, you just need to be findable by the people who already recognize that they have a problem. And so the first thing with your marketing, once you have a good website, is now you want people to be able to easily find your website. Now, there's really 2 ways that people find your website. The first one is through search. They go to Google and they type in accountant near me or CPA in ABC city, and then they're going to see the search results. And so there are different places where you can show up in search. It can be paid search results, Google Ads. It can be your Google Business Profile in the map pack, or it can be in the organic listings below the map. And so I'm going to say, are you findable? If you type in those types of phrases for your city and your area, do you show up, or are you like pages and pages down? So paid search, you're not doing it at all in most cases. Do you have good reviews per location? Let's say you've got like 10, we'll give you a fair. Are you getting monthly Google reviews? Not really. Do you have a 4.0? Well, those 10 reviews are great. There's just not that many of them. Are you showing up in the map pack for a search right now? Are you showing up in the organic listings for a search right now? And then are you showing up in key directories? This would be like there's a lot of listings in organic results, Clutch, Yellow Pages, that kind of stuff. Are you showing up in those search results as well? Now, the other place that people search, that's kind of in quotes, they go out looking for services, is we call it dark social. And what that means is it's social connections, network, it can be online or offline, that are not accessible to marketers, right? We can't run ads there. We don't know if your name is being mentioned. It's things like private Facebook groups or Slack channels. It could be associations or forums that people are on. There's a lot of these places. What I would want to know is, do you have people who know that you exist who are recommending you? So there's a couple different versions of that. Partnerships would be like, do you have a software partner that sends clients to you? Champions and referrals, these are more the traditional, you have great clients who love what you do and they tell their friends. Do you show up in online groups? Are there people that are aware of you, in a private Facebook group? And then influencers would be, say, podcast hosts or speakers or people who know that you exist and might be sending business your way. Do we have any of these? Well, I bet you're all doing all right with, we'll even give you a good, for champions and referrals. That's usually the best, the way that most people build their business to start. And so we're going to give you a good there. These other ones are things that you can cultivate over time. But number 4, be more findable. Number 5, turn on the lights or show up consistently. My view on social media is there's kind of 2 stages to it. And social media, and I'm going to include email marketing as well. The first one is that you have to be able to produce consistently. You have to have your social media have things going out regularly, even if it's not the greatest content in the world. This is an area where I see a ton of money wasted for accounting firms. They hire a marketing agency to manage their social media, and that agency posts things every week for you, and they're sending you stuff to get approved, and then they're posting it out on your social media accounts, and it's this never-ending hamster wheel. But the content kind of sucks. Like it's not really insightful or giving deep. It's not like very knowledgeable, really helpful for your clients, because the marketing agency that's doing it, they don't really know accounting. They're not able to generate good advice. So what I recommend is an automated social media account as your first step. And what that means is we recommend building, say, like 60 evergreen social media posts and there's a tool that we use called Meet Edgar that we love. You load it up into Meet Edgar, and then it just posts those things. They're evergreen, so they can be used at any time of the year. You don't have to schedule them on specific days. And what happens is that, let's say you post 3 things per week, and then once every post in your hopper has gone out to your social media, it goes back and it starts posting them again. And so this might be 4 or 5 months later that before you see the same post again, but it means that you always have something going out on your social media without you really having to think about it. The other thing is the email newsletter. The first thing we want you to do is we want you to send things to your list, to your clients and prospects. You should have an email list. That's the first thing. You should be actively trying to get people onto your email list. That's the second thing. And then you should be actively emailing your list. That's the third thing. It doesn't have to be great content, though. At the beginning, you just need consistency. Think about it as inbox marketing. You want your name to show up in their inbox. If people just archive it, they don't read it, they see your name. That's really the important part. And so give yourself a break at the beginning. Don't worry so much about whether this is really great and helpful content. Worry about whether you can get it out on a regular basis. Monthly is minimum. Weekly is better. Every 2 weeks is okay. One thing with email marketing is people actually stay on your list more if you email them consistently than if you only email them once or twice a year. And so building up that consistent schedule is a part of showing up consistently. Number 6, we call it pave the driveway, and it means to build a nurture system. A lot of people, this is kind of the classic marketing funnel. So the idea is once someone signs up, say they download something off of your website, or they go to a webinar, or you meet them at an event, or you get an email list from an association that you're a part of, they get into your funnel and you're able to start through automation, emailing them and connecting with them over time. Really, the email funnel is a big part of this. But the other thing is you want to start being able to answer the major questions on your website. So things like, what does onboarding look like? How long is it going to take to get me switched over? If you do our payroll, what are the risks of there being complications when we switch from ADP or Paychex or whatever it is? You might also have things like social media retargeting ads. So if someone came to your website, you can recognize that they came to your website, they were interested in your services, but they didn't fill out a form. Well, you can go back to, when they go back to social media, the cookies that you've got on your website can be targeting them, and your brand can now show up in their social media feeds for people that have already expressed some interest. And then sales, do you have automated reminders? Are you following up on the people? Obviously, this is a little more sales than marketing, but I think that the line between sales and marketing is pretty fuzzy. At the end of the day, we're trying to get money into your business by selling to new clients. And so marketing often kind of carries the tech side of things. And so having some automated follow-up reminders for your sales team to make sure to reach out to people regularly can be part of this paving the driveway. The last one, and there's a reason it's last, is go out and meet the neighbors. And by this, I mean now that you have all of these other things set up, you've got a good foundation, you've got a good strategy and marketing budget, your website is great, you're findable as much as you can be, you are showing up consistency, and you have this nurture system. One of the things, you have this nurture system, now you start going out and finding the people who don't know that they need your services, but might be a good fit for your services. Now, something I'll say is some firms don't get all the way through this list. They get through number 4, and they're very findable, and that is all they need. They get plenty of leads by being findable in their city or in their niche. But for the ones that don't, maybe they want to grow more aggressively, or they're not effective. Maybe there's a lot of competition, so it's hard to be findable. That's when you want to start moving through these other stages. And this last one, we're talking about content. So we're talking about like unique weekly content, highly valuable. This is when you see influencers out on the internet who are creating videos and putting together these really great LinkedIn or Twitter posts that people are commenting on and interacting with. You have an editorial calendar. That means you know like what you're going to write or create every week. Maybe you're producing a podcast or going on podcasts. maybe you're doing booth sponsorship, or maybe you even have your own community for whatever niche that you're serving. So this is where you're going out and you're doing stuff in the world with people who are not actively searching for your services, but you're trying to you want them to become aware of you, trust you, like you, all of that stuff. Again, don't do this if you haven't done the stuff above, because this is a lot of work and a lot of money to do it well. And if you don't have these other things set up, it's often a waste of money. You're not gonna get the ROI that you want because people find out about you, but then they don't have a way to go through your system over time. They don't have those multiple touch points to eventually become a customer. So now I'm going to assume most of you, we're just going to say you're not doing much here. You don't have most of these things. Maybe you answer a couple questions on your website. And down here, hey, let's say you occasionally go on websites. Now, when I look at this is a pretty early stage marketing program. Even though when I look down here, these three sections are all Fs, I'm not going to work on the Fs yet. First thing I want to do is I want to work on the foundation and the website. That's the first 6 months of a marketing project if you're starting. The next 6 months, probably the next year, is stage number 4. Once you've got that well established, now you start thinking about stages 5, 6, and 7. So I hope that this is helpful. There's a lot that goes into this. We've put a lot of thinking into it. We've worked with a lot of accounting firms as we've kind of figured this out. There's obviously always going to be some nuance. Some firms have found a really great way to run their marketing that doesn't look like this at all, and that's great. I only think you should be working through this framework or thinking about marketing if you need it. If you have enough leads coming in, great. If you're getting clients and you don't have a website, totally cool. This is what you look at, and this is what I look at and think about with our clients when you're not getting the number of leads and sales that you want. And if you've decided we want to get more leads and sales through marketing, not through maybe an outbound salesperson as much. We want to draw people to us. We want them to fill out the forms, and we want to meet with them if they've expressed interest in our services. This is where I'm going to start. This is our point of view. This is what we've seen work, and this is what we're going to do with our clients. The last thing I want to talk about before I wrap up this video is how we work. So Benchmark Growth, we are marketing for accounting firms. We do a whole bunch of different things. I talked about at the beginning how there's these different ways to set up your marketing program. We'll look at them again. We mostly get involved we get involved to a certain extent in all 4 of these areas. In the DIY section, we have a marketing mastermind that's for people who wear the marketing hat inside an accounting firm. And so if you go to our website, under services and resources, there's a mastermind here. You can learn more about that. The idea is we meet on a weekly basis. We have a whole curriculum that we use for the marketing. We go through all 7 of those sections, kind of it's not one per month exactly, but it's an 11-month marketing mastermind. You have the opportunity to connect with peers who are also doing the marketing for their firm, but it's essentially built for 2 types of people. It's built for those who are DIYing, so that's an owner, they're wearing the marketing hat, or maybe the done with you. You've got a front desk admin or a bookkeeper who's like super creative, and they're going to own the marketing department, but they don't really know much about strategy and things like that. And so the mastermind is a way for us to help resource and upskill people who are in that situation. The other thing that we do a lot of is done for you services. Now that's going to be more typical marketing services. So you can see here, done for you marketing, done with you marketing, custom website design. We do a lot of that work for our clients. One of the first things that a lot of folks start with is this marketing checkup and budgeting. This is sort of the easiest way to get started. We help go through this whole marketing checklist and give you a grade, so you know where you land and have an idea of what you need to do next. We also do some budgeting in that. So we're going to look at what is your average fee, how much can you afford, or how much should you be budgeting for marketing, what's a reasonable cost of acquisition for your clients, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that goes in here, but this is generally where we start if you're looking for done for you services. You can start with that, or you can start out with our full strategy engagement where we go through this whole exercise to grade you, and then we also help you figure out your positioning and messaging. We help you figure out a scope and sequence of what kind of marketing tactics you're going to want to invest in the next 12 months. So that's us. We love working with accounting firms. This is something that I didn't think I was going to be passionate about. I kind of fell into this space to a certain extent, but I love this industry. I think you all are doing great work. I love working with firms that are helping other small businesses be more financially stable. You're helping, the kind of the mom and pop shops, the local businesses, all of that. I feel good about that. I like working with firms that are doing that as well. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for sticking through this. I know this is a long video, but hopefully it's a helpful way for you to kind of understand our perspective and get to know me. My name again is Matt Banker. You can find me on LinkedIn and on Twitter. I'd love to follow me, interact with my content, ask questions. All of that is free reign. Send me a DM. If you'd like to talk about working with us, if you'd like to talk about next steps, you can reach out to me you can go to our website again. Go to the website, click the Let's Talk button, and you can find time on my calendar. I'd love to chat. All right, have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye.